Hi. So I've been wondering about the word state lately and all the different things it could mean, like maybe a territory or a condition. What's your take on that?
For sure. When did the state come about? When the city-states came about? Well, the city-states, of course, have their own jurisdiction. That's why they call it city-states. But how does a city become a state? City means it has to have a cathedral in it. And that cathedral, by many means of crooked methods, construct a trust. Once you bought yourself into that trust, the state or the city-state now takes jurisdiction over you as the living man or the woman. So that's what the state is. The process of the state, whether it's a city-state or a corporate state or Washington, D.C. or United Kingdom or the goddess Europa, as in European, what they do is they con you into giving them your power of attorney. And they did that by creating what is known as a constructive trust. That's another way of saying, it's a constructive trust. So it sounds very nice to the ear, but in reality, it's a trust gained by deception. It's just like somebody lying to you and you fall for the lie. Trust is established until you learn of the lie, and then the trust is broken. So the city-state came into existence about 120 years ago when they wanted to claim your power of attorney to administer your affairs because you cannot read and write, you are innumerate, and you cannot distinguish between a lie and a fact. So through these deceptions and the deception of language, like getting you to believe a city-state has power over men and women, they conned you out of your word. They conned you out of your ability to form contracts. They conned you out of your ability to form trusts. They conned you out of the ability to pen a letter to get the bureaucracies or the councils to administer your wishes, because all corporations are there for the wishes of men and women. So that's what the city-state is. What is it a state of? It's a state that successfully took people's power of attorney and began to administer it themselves for their own benefit. One of the best examples I can give you about the city-state, say Vatican or the Church of England, is that once you believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, which is another word for a trust, what has just happened? Because you believed in it, you became what is known as the settler or the creator of a trust. That's called Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And because you believe in it, and the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost are the ones that are supposed to be administering as well as paying and distributing the benefits to the baby Jesus, when you say you believe in it and you are not the trust, you are not the beneficiary, you become the settler, which is the creator of the trust, because you bought into it, and you are forced to pay into it. So Jesus becomes the beneficiary of you paying into the trust. So what does that mean exactly? Well, Jesus is not exactly around, if you know what I mean. So somebody is administering his affair, which is called a Vatican City, in place of the real man, in place of the real messenger, like in the Lord of the Rings, that they are just simply custodians until the real king or the real Jesus turns out. So essentially, the people, through ignorance and not understanding how trust works, created the city-state of Vatican City. Have I given you guys a full answer? It would really help me, or the audience as well, if you quizzed me on it.
So because you believe in it, is that when it becomes a state of mind? Like, is that related?
Yeah, so once the lie through deception and ignorance is perpetrated, the answer is yes, it becomes one of the mind. So if you lied to me, well, that lie can't exist in nature, can it? Because a lie cannot have any physical presence. Would you agree?
Yes.
So where does it exist? It exists in your mind until your mind is forced to reckon itself and thinking, wow, this guy has just described me how I've been conned out of money, my power of attorney, etc. That's why the judicial notice book, the book of the judicial notice with the global constitution, enables you to create your own court of record so you can begin to administer your own affairs and tell that de facto criminal organization calling itself governments or parliaments, which means speaker of lies, that's what parliament means, to F off. And of course, that wonderful bank called the British Museum, literally called British Museum, is also now caught out in a caught out in a dilemma, which is, do they run away or stand and face the charges? Because what does museum mean in Hebrew? Treasury. They are banking on their lies. So when you believe in a lie, it enters your brain. And if there's enough people and enough energy that puts into this lie, they begin to print money on it. And that is how a phantom finds its way into our three-dimensional world. It's like me saying, paraphrasing it again, if we all get together and build a pyramid 10 meters high, just 10 meters high, and we put a golden cap on top, and when we're ready to pass away, each one of us goes into that pyramid with that golden top, and then we will find ourselves going to the afterlife with our physical body and our spirit and everything intact. So I essentially get all of you to build a pyramid 10 meters high. I give each one of you a dose of poison. Now that you've finished the pyramid with that wonderful golden expensive top, this guy is going to transport you to another world, as all the Egyptians believe, and all of those idiotic asses believe. I give you the little dose of poison, you walk yourself into that pyramid, and then, of course, I never will follow you in. I'm never going to follow you in, but I'm going to help myself to that golden top that you guys paid for. Yeah, and I'm going to pawn it in the nearest pawn shop, and that's how the con works. Anybody believing that the British Bank, that the Bank of England, the British Museum, and all museums around the world are for real, they bought themselves into a lie, a phantom. That's how you bring a eddy, a puff of smoke, a phantom into the three-dimensional realm by the sheer stupidity of people, as condemning as that sounds coming from my mouth.
What about police state? Because we speak about the mind, which feels like once you just are aware of it, things instantly change in your world. A police state feels like maybe more physical and brutal, that it's not as quick of a state to change.
Oh, I completely understand what you're saying. So I'll explain to you what a police state is. Same scenario. We unwittingly created a trust, and we unwittingly began to pay into that trust, establishing tradition. So there is now a law, because laws are created on the spot by men and women agreeing upon something. A law can be also created from one corporation coming together with another corporation. And hence a result, they can form a law. But to create a law, you must have two consenting parties, or 3 or 4 or 100 or 1,000,000, but consenting. So they've consented to this constructive trust. They've consented to Parliament, that Parliament creates laws. How can a house of liars create laws? They can't. But nevertheless, their lies have been so successful, they've got the people believing that they create laws, and that somehow they have